And Marcia, you have the later on the handout that okay, great.
Okay. So today is, what is today? It is Monday, August 29th, and you are joining IJKL for Rabbi Akiva's class, The Search for Soul Illumination in Jewish Mystical and Sufi Traditions, speaking of exploring unknown worlds. So welcome, and Rabbi Akiva.
Okay, thanks, Marcia. Thanks for your help and your taking over. Okay. So it wasn't a bad segue from the launching the rockets to the moon to what we were discussing last week. We ended off last week with a something that I believe that we have to seriously ponder on a universal and global level, and then on a very personal and individual level, come to a very strong realization. And tell me whether how strongly you feel about this, because yeah, I think the Jewish mystic and the Sufi mystic, for that matter, all religious traditions of mystics, and each one of the traditions do have a mystical component to it. It just so happens that some traditions are a little bit more apt to have a propensity towards mysticism, as is true in the last, certainly in the last 50 years within Jewish tradition. There has been a strong propensity towards mysticism, but I wouldn't say in the last 50. I would say in the last, since really the Baal Shem Tov, since the 1700s. And it existed before, but I'm talking about strong tendencies towards mysticism was certainly noticed within the Jewish tradition since the Baal Shem Tov, and certainly within the Sufi tradition that we're talking about today. What was the mystical arm of Islam from the beginning, and both in Jewish and Sufi traditions, the mystical propensity was it was by the normative tradition was in a sense was outlawed, what was viewed as an aberration of the original tradition. The Sufis were really and still are they are looked upon as aberrations of the Islamic tradition. And even within Judaism, there has been over the centuries, there have been tendencies, and I believe that they are pretty well alive today. There are tendencies to view the Jewish mystical outlook as something somewhat of an aberration to normative Judaism. We don't think that because we are, part of IJKL, which is not based on Jewish mysticism, but surely is fully flavored with Jewish mystical tendencies. So we don't think it odd, but out there, so both Sufism and Jewish mysticism share that same uniqueness. So I do believe that the mystics in every tradition asked their initiates, their students, their disciples, to please consider and first realize this following realization that how tremendously fragmented and chaotic the nature of life is, and how fragmented and how chaotic the nature of self is. I want us to consider that for a moment. And if you agree that the fragmentation of the nature of life and the nature of self, ourselves, the complexity of self and the world, if you think that fragmentation and the complexity is tremendous, you don't have to answer. You don't have to respond. If you disagree with that, then I want to hear from you a little bit. and I don't think I'm going to be surprised. I don't think anyone's going to raise their hand that you disagree that we are tremendously fragmented and chaotic in the nature of the world and in the nature of self. And this was number one realization that the mystics wanted to get through to us, because the mystics claimed that they have a way to create out of fragmentation harmony, and out of chaos wholeness. That was the message of the mystical mind. First admit about fragmentation and disunity, and then let's sit down and I'll teach you about wholeness and unity. But first admit. So is there anyone out there, anyone that does not agree? Excellent. Excellent. So friends, once we are fully aware, deeply aware, that we are in need of integration and harmony. The Hebrew, I'm gonna, throughout the whole series, I'm mixing Sufism and the whole thing is about the intersectionality of Jewish mysticism and Sufism. So every time I'm talking about Sufi mysticism, but I'm always going to sprinkle on the Hebrew equivalent of what we're talking about. So when Sufi mysticism talks about the absolute need for personal integration and harmony, that the self is searching and striving for that. We are talking on the Jewish end about the words and the concepts of shalom, which is wholeness, not first peace, but shalom first means completedness, wholeness, harmony, and tiferet is another word for harmony. So the need for that, and you know where that lands on the Sphera chart. Shalom and Tiferet land right in the middle of the core of the tree of life. Right at the core, right? It's in the middle column, right in the middle. It's the bullseye of the tree of life. Is this place of unified harmony and self-integration, feeling whole. So Sufi mysticism describes that place of harmony and integration, and they say that the integrated self, once we have become disfragmented, in other words, we have reached a place of wholeness. We have come to a place of integrated wholeness. The integrated self, they say, is the drop that contains the ocean. I love that. The drop, the integrated self, is that one drop that contains the ocean. Right? It goes back to when I introduced that great Richard Rubinstein metaphor about that we are all one drop in the ocean, and the drop in the ocean, it has like a kind of split personality. When the drop of the top of the wave, the drop of water thinks for 1 second that it is separate from the ocean, for 1 second. But really, that one drop, for that 1 second, the next second, it's not true. It is really a part of an it is the drop that contains the entire ocean. For a moment, the drop thinks it's separate from the ocean, but really not. So, what the Sufi and Jewish mystics are trying to teach us, and we're going to get more deeply into it soon. There is, take this very, 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 very deeply, friends. There is a dimensionless and invisible center of our identity. We're now talking about us. Dimensionless and invisible center of identity that we call our I, capital I. That is in union with the with the universal. We call that in the vernacular our souls. That soul is the invisible and dimensionless entity that is connected to the universal. And I just want to say something here. I believe that idea of our that dimensionless and invisible entity that we in short form call the soul, okay? That our souls being inextricably interconnected with the soul of the universe. And sometimes the soul of the universe we call God. That's what God is. What our soul is to ourselves, that dimensionless and invisible entity that is at the core of me, of ourselves, of the I, that also exists on a cosmic level. The cosmos has a soul, and that soul we call God. We have a name for it. We made up a name for that dimensionless and invisible entity that is at the core of the universe, as it is at the core of self. We came up with a name and said that dimensionless, invisible entity that is at the core of the entire cosmos. And we came up with a name we called it God. And I don't like, and the mystics did not like the word God. In fact, I'll tell you the honest truth. The first word of the 10 Commandments, of the Aseret HaDibrot, is Anochi. All that the dimensionless, invisible core of the universe wanted us to know is I am. Ich bin du. I am. Anochi means I am. The rest of the sentences, the rest of the Torah is commentary. Is commentary. The rest is Rashi. But at least the first expression from the divine wanted us to be aware. Anochi, I am. And I'll tell you something more. If it wouldn't be for the anthropomorphic nature of the Torah, because some people have a problem with I am. because then that I am means, although it is the shortest, and it's the aleph. The short form of Anochi is just an aleph, and the aleph is the one letter in the alphabet that is silent even. So the name of God is reduced to Anochi, and then even more reduced to just an aleph, and that aleph is silence. That's the nature of this dimensionless, invisible core of the cosmos. But when we say Anochi, I am, even that is in my mind, in my mind's consciousness. Even that is an unnecessary anthropomorphic expression, because the moment God, this dimensionless and invisible entity, says I, you know what we automatically think of? We think of this. We think of I, because I is the only I that I know. So the anthropomorphic nature of the Torah did not do us any good. The commentaries say that it did do us good, because we needed an anthropomorphic, we needed metaphor. The whole Torah is one big metaphor. Our mystics tell us it's one big metaphor, or a tremendous amount of our Torah is in metaphoric language. And I think we have, us moderns who have a propensity towards mysticism, don't like this anthropomorphic, because anthropomorphic stuff requires reframing. It requires interpretation. What does it mean God gets angry? God has an eye. What does that mean? So we have to interpret. We spend a hell of a lot of Torah time interpreting the anthropomorphic nature of the Torah. But I cannot disagree with the wisdom of the ages, and I cannot disagree with the Torah that on some level that kind of metaphoric anthropomorphic usages, it is a necessary bridge for us to come to certain more sublime understandings. But the word Anochi, I am, is the bare minimum that this invisible, dimensionless core of the universe needs us to know. And if we want to take it out of the I am kind of metaphor, out of that human, I is always a human, and God is not, God forbid, human. Anochi, I would retranslate as there is. All I want you to know is there is. There is what? There is a me in Hebrew. There is a me. There is a who behind there is a who. At the core of the cosmos. There is a ma. This is the language of the Zohar. There is a ma. There is a what. I'm not going to get into descriptions. I'm not going to get into that. That is for our imaginations. Or I have come to the place I don't want to know what is. I don't want to know what that me, who that is. I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to know the workings and mechanisms of the divine. I don't want to know because I can't know. All I have to know, I have come to this realization, all I have to know is that there is. And encompass myself with that idea of there is. And drown myself in the transcendence of that there is. There is a unity in this universe. There is a source behind this universe. There is, in mystical Jewish language, there is an I, and Sufi language, there is an ayin. I am a yesh, I am a something, I am an I. But in contradistinction to that I, there is behind my I, there is an ayin. There is a nothing with a capital N that is the everything. And the same applies to the cosmos. So in contradistinction to that sort of realization and awareness of that unity, of that there is a core to self and there is a core to the cosmos. In contradistinction to that, when we actually look at ourselves and look at our lives and the nature of lives, we realize that we are forever in parts. we are in parts. And we wish to be whole. We're distracted, yet we strive for focus. We are scattered, yet we want to be gathered. And gathered gathered in the Sufi tradition is spelt with a capital G. So it's like a major word, and we're gonna get into like what that means to be gathered. So the mystic in us wants us to know that we tend to yield our I to every and any impulse. We tend to allow the I in us to be led by thousands of elements and factors within our life, leading to our I to become very feeble and very weak, because we tend to allow our I to absorb all of the things coming to us from life, and that makes our I distracted and weak and feeble, and we have lost what the Sufi tradition calls our abiding presence. The abiding presence, which means the presence that is emanating from our deepest core, has been scattered, has been fragmented to a point where becomes weak, because it's shattered all over the place and focused all over the place, and we have lost the strength and power of our inner selves, our inner abiding presence. We have in universal and Jewish terms, we have lost touch with our souls. The abiding presence is again referring to souls. And this is another way of saying in Talmudic terms what I have presented to you many a time, which it's one of those three word aphorisms that are so powerful, and like I mentioned a few weeks ago, they always come. The good ones always come in threes. When the Talmudic sages said, "Tzadikim libam birshutam," the righteous ones, the tzadikim, we can libam birshutam, maintain. I'm going to now maintain their abiding presence. Tzadikim, what is a definition of a righteous, pious person? Is someone who is able to maintain their abiding presence without being shattered all over the place. They're able to maintain their core I, consistently. Righteous people in the perception of the Talmudic mystics and sages, righteous people don't have an I. They own their I. Do you get the difference of saying I have an I? I have a self. We all know that to some degree or another. And when we can truly say I own, I'm in charge of the different fragmented pieces of my I are not. I'm not an emotional or spiritual scatterbrain, which most of us are. There is a wholeness that I am feeling at my core. I am not having a deep thought here and a deep thought there, but all of those deep thoughts, because I'm not a stupid person. I have deep thoughts, but all of those deep thoughts are so scattered and they're so fragmented that there is a lack of unity to create a core that is able to say, I own my I. I am in control of my I. Friends, there's an expression in the Psalms that appears over and over and over again. And the expression is hardly hardly ever like really truly on a deep level understood properly. When the psalmist so many times says Baal Yimot, Baal Yimot is usually translated Baal Yimot is usually translated, I will not be moved. King David is saying, I'm in this situation, I'm in that situation, Baal Yimot, I will not be moved. And that is, that English translation is like, it really requires some commentary. What is it? Baal Yimot, I will not be moved. Does that mean King David is expressing, I am a stubborn person? I will not be moved, or a totally unemotional person. I will not be moved. I'm not movable. I'm unemotional like a piece of wood, or I'm stubborn like a piece of wood. So the word moved is really requires some interpretation. And I say that Baal Yimot, when King David says, I will not be moved, really means what he is really saying is, I will not be moved from my center, from my abiding presence. This situation, and King David found himself in many situations, on an emotional level, on a romantic level, on a military level, on a political level. He found him on a domestic level with his family, with his son. His world was scattered and full of turmoil. And one of his famous expressions, his most common expressions, is nevertheless, Baal Yimot, I will not be moved. Moved from what? From my abiding presence, from my core. That is tzadikim libam birshutam. The righteous, their hearts, they own their hearts. They own their emotions. Their emotions do not own them. They own their emotions.
Rabbi?
They are not being schlepped around by some external, foreign circumstance or external people. They are firm. Their place, their heart, their abiding presence is firmly grounded.
Rabbi, is that why David was allowed to build the temple?
I can't hear you. Yep.
I'm sorry, Joyce, I didn't hear that. Is that why
David was allowed to build the temple?
Well, actually, he wasn't allowed to build the temple.
Oh, I guess I'm mixed up.
David was the one who was disallowed from building the temple, and Solomon was the one that built the temple, but for a different reason, for a totally different reason. David was disallowed.
Okay, you did teach once something about David's pure heart, led God to make some concession, but
originally David was supposed to be the one building the temple. David had I wouldn't say he had a pure heart. He worked tremendously on his heart, on his heart place. He was disallowed because of a technicality, not a technicality, but he was disallowed from building the temple. So he was like kind of predestined to build the temple, and the temple is called after his, actually is the temple of David, historically. But he was disallowed because simply there was too much blood on his hands. He had to go. He was involved in too much military stuff, that he was deemed inappropriate to build the temple of peace when so much blood was on his hand. But that's not, it's not for now. So the mystic in both Sufi and Jewish traditions are saying that the first place to start is to integrate our fragmented selves, is to create a wholeness and a unity at our core. And it is only from that place, that is the first step through which we are going to begin our quote unquote work. That has to be an agenda within ourselves on a daily, on a minute by minute. That's the type of psychic work that is a constant, and we can never let that go, or we will never expand. If we do not do that work, we will be trapped in that very narrow place called, in that chart, the false ego, and never be able to expand into the essential self. So we first have to be able to say to ourselves that any situation in the world that comes my way, any person in the world that comes my way, I will be like King David, Bal Yimot. No one and nothing will be able to move me and disable me from standing firm in my core. No one is going to be able to yank my chain. That's what King David is saying. No situation is gonna get me off balance to a point where I am not feeling, I am not firmly grounded in my core. It is from that place where all things start to happen. Fragmentation is antithetical to tzadikim libam birshutam. Okay, friends, any comments till now? Any questions?
Marilyn, is that your hand being raised? If so, you can turn your microphone off.
Okay.
On.
Okay, can I go? Okay.
Yes.
I reacted to many things that you said. When you said man is a drop in the ocean, that bothers me. I think the ocean is the ocean, and man is man, and each one of us very unique with a special mission on earth. I do not feel that I am a drop in the ocean. The other thing I responded to when you said, Anochi, I am, in my feeling, I am is however I see God to be. No one can tell me what God is. It's my own vision. The only responsibility I have is to acknowledge that there is a greater power than myself. And the third thing I reacted to is that I am not a nothing. No man is a nothing. We each have our own special mission. Some of us fulfill it and some don't. But I'm finding that this a whole attitude is bothering me. I can't find myself as a whole person in what you're saying. I'm just part of something.
Marilyn, aren't you part of something? Aren't you part of the world?
Unmute, honey.
Yes, I'm part of the world.
So that's all we're saying here. I am not diminishing the uniqueness, the uniqueness of you or me, but in the realization of Marilyn Schwartz and the realization of her uniqueness. But if there is, in Marilyn Schwartz's mind, if Marilyn Schwartz is the only entity, the only exclusive entity, without Marilyn Schwartz looking around and saying, I am part of a greater of a greater, just look around you. Marilyn, so in one sense, I'm not, when I say Marilyn is a drop in the ocean, it's merely metaphorical, that it's a realization that Marilyn is not the ocean, because Marilyn is a unique drop in around 7 billion, in the world that I am calling the ocean.
See, I think I want to like myself and feel good about myself. And
you can feel good about yourself knowing that you are a unique part, but you are only a part. You are only a part of a greater population, and your soul, your unique soul, is only a part of the great, infinite cosmic soul.
You've given me a lot to think about, so thank you for that. But I really was moved by it. Okay.
I get what you're saying. You want to feel good about yourself, but I am saying being part of a greater entity does not diminish from your uniqueness. I feel very comfortable myself, recognizing the infinity of my uniqueness, the infinity. There will never, ever be anyone else like me on earth. And I have no compunctions being a little part of infinity, of a large, I am a miniature, as paradoxical as this is, we should all be viewing ourselves as miniature little representations of a greater infinity. So I have no problem being a small infinity, a drop of infinity.
Okay, the next drop to be speaking is
We're all little drops.
we're all just drops.
We're all little droplets.
Yes, so I have Mike and then Sandra and then Debbie.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Mike.
Yeah, drop in the ocean. So in my thinking, there are, and it's not something I made up. I mean, it's stuff that I've been reading and studying, that there are different levels of consciousness, different levels of awareness. And in conjunction, in alignment with the discussion today, I would call it, there's two I's. There's the I, the small I, me, that little drop in the ocean, and there's the big I, God, which I'm a part of. And the I that's me is it's like if you have a capital letter I, inside that is a small letter I with a little dot on top, but it's part of the big I. But in that moment where the wave is just cresting at the top, and Rabbi, you mentioned, for a second you think you're separate. We're always part of the big I. We're always that God, but we see ourselves in that instant. It's an illusion. It's an appearance of God that makes us seem to be one of the 7 billion drops of humanity. And one of the ways that for myself that I see the difference at times is where you were talking about the not being moved. It's the subject object. The consciousness, the awareness sees my hand as I see my hand. So I'm the subject and my hand is the object. And then the consciousness continues getting deeper and deeper where I'm awareness seeing the I or seeing the ego. So the subject is the big I and the smaller I is the ego. And you can keep playing that game up and back, up and back. And sometimes we get pulled into distractions of life and we forget that we're the subject. We become identified with the object and we lose that center. We lose that balance of being, we become moved rather than staying in the center to watch it. So when I can, I come back to that center and I say, yeah, the happiness, the sadness, the sorrow, the good, the bad, all of that is the object of the consciousness that sees the mind and the experiences of the mind and the thinking of the mind and the intellectualization of the mind and the analysis of the mind and the body and all of the material around us is all object when I'm in the awareness of consciousness and in that center. And it helps me to stay centered, to feel better when I feel bad, and sometimes to feel worse when I feel too happy. Well, that doesn't happen too often.
Okay, and Mike, excellent graphic, excellent description. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Sandra.
Hi. Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Rabbi. I want just a brief description because I'm wondering, and because I don't know Hebrew and I only know words. When you use Baal, what is that?
Baal means it's not Baal as in the Babylonian idol worship Baal. It's Bet Lamed. Baal Yimot means Baal is a negative. Baal means not to. Baal Yimot means to be moved. Baal means not to be. I will not be moved.
Okay, so when
it means not. It means not.
Okay, but when you say it with a name such as Baal Shem Tov.
No. It's a totally different word. Okay. This is right. Baal Shem Tov is Bet Ayin Lamed, and this is Bet Lamed.
Okay.
Two totally different root words. Two totally different shorashim.
Okay, and when you say Baal Shem Tov, what does the Baal mean?
Baal means master.
Okay, the other thing.
Master of a good name.
Okay, now.
And Baal, Bet Lamed is not.
Okay.
Not to whatever, not to be moved, not to whatever comes afterwards.
The other word I'm going to ask you about is, do you ever fall in love with words?
Yeah.
Okay. Me too. So I want to know the exact meaning of Hineni. Hineni.
Hineni is a one word short form for two Hebrew words, Hine Ani. Hine Ani. Behold, I am here, is the Hine, and Ani short form is Hineni.
Okay, thank you.
Hine Ani.
I love that word.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
It's a good one.
Okay. Thank you.
And Miss IJKL main Zoom room.
Oh, sorry. Sandra's
I'm
definitely
sorry, I was
got,
sort of in the middle
Sandra
of-
has the grammar thing down for today. Somebody asked me in the chat why I was laughing so much and having such a good time. Because Rabbi, you are bringing to the community stuff you've been teaching us for a number of years in a way that now makes easier sense, in that the self, the I think what some people were hearing when you were taking the humanity part of God out of God and coming to the Anochi, the I, the Aleph, the silent part of the source. When you said
Right.
the source earlier, it was like the source of what? And it dawned on me, it's just the source of energy. Yes.
Yes.
So
yes,
as a
I
word
would.
person who gets caught up in God and English, and again, going to the Hebrew.
Yeah. I know it, Chevra, it you know, I said at the beginning of the Sufi lecture series that we have discovered that Sufi mysticism has a tremendous emphasis on self examination and collecting, gathering our fragmented pieces, and that's the beginning of awareness. It's a beginning, and I did mention that the Sufi religion it insists that there has to be an awareness of God. Sufism is in contradistinction to Buddhism. Buddhism does not find any need at all, and this is what differentiates Judaism and Islam from Buddhism. Buddhism is either an atheistic tradition and religion, or at best it's agnostic.
Just one question.
And that is a huge differentiation, because all monotheistic religions, Sufism and Judaism and Christianity, they all have like one beautiful point of unity, is that they all traditions feel that there has to be in order for the ego, we can dig as deep as we want into the self and refine the self. But unless there is, at the end of that journey, unless we can imagine, unless we have in our envisionment a transcendent self that is beyond and above us, all our work on our ego will be garnished mit garnished unless there is a soul of the universe that we are
Personal responsibility.
that we are encompassing. I don't care what it looks to you like. I don't care whether it's a Christian, a Sufi, a Jewish God. Those are all, unfortunately, we get caught. But the refined soul is going to at least find a place in their soul to be able to say Anochi, that there is.
I would
Going
like to ask something. And
going deep into the personal self is a very, very essential thing in Jewish mysticism. But without having an envisionment of a transcendent cosmic soul of the universe, what we are doing, according to all these traditional mystic wisdom teachers, if we solely just go into the ego, then Sufism and Jewish mysticism is nothing other than great psychoanalysis. It's no different than great psychology.
are you ready for?
Going deep into the psyche is like diving into an 8-foot pool. If you're diving into the deep end of the psyche, but you do not have there is something much higher than you are, then you're jumping into an 8-foot swimming pool without any water in it. And what's going to end up is that you are going to go deeper and deeper into the refinement of your ego, but you are eventually going to crash on a frickin' cement floor, because your ego is trying to refine the ego of its own ego, and you're going to end up splattered on the cement floor of the swimming pool. Whereas if there is a transcendence that you can imagine, that you can jump into and refine your ego and refine the self, then you are jumping into a pool full of water, and that helps you from crashing into yourself. Okay, that's enough about that.
Okay. So
Marcia, Marcia, you have to remind me. Now I was going to spend a half hour, but now 15 minutes
It, yeah,
until we until
23.
23. So we'll take a few questions. I haven't finished half of what I wanted to do, but I did want to finish with some little quotes from, not little, some great quotes from Rumi, just to pass by you and encourage you to encourage you, if you want to do work, if you want to do some work on building and refining your soul. These are some quotes that I would hope help encourage you to get one of his 2 or 3 books. Only with one. There are a million books of his poetry and stuff, but I discovered on the internet that there's 1 or 2 books that just have one quote on one page, and I would encourage you to buy those books, because what Rumi is talking about is I was going to do that right now, is no other than the integration, in his own words and Jewish tradition in our words, is no other than the integration of the spherotic tree of life, of the Sphera chart. The Sphera chart is the Jewish manner in which we get to understand and comprehend and feel and experience these energy zones within us, and how to balance them and how to harmonize and integrate all of them into a whole. And Rumi is talking about the same stuff, except using different terminology. Don't forget, I find it amazing. Rumi lived in the between the 11th and 12th centuries, and the 11th and 12th centuries was the apex and beginning of Jewish mysticism. Also, there was something happening there in the world at that time that opened up some well springs of wisdom. In different ways, and if you have a book like Rumi's, one thought at a time, go to sleep with it, or wake up with it, and carry that the energy of that wisdom with you. It'll help in our growth. And for that matter, there are books of such sorts with one line on each page by Abraham Joshua Heschel that I found extremely helpful. A book called I Asked for Wonder. Just one thought on one page, and it will help you. It'll help you wake up, and it'll help you go to sleep, and it'll help you the 23 hours in between, if you carry it around with you and focus in on it, memorize it.
What is the name of the Rumi book, Rabbi?
It's called Google Rumi and look up one-liners. It's like Rumi one-liners.
Okay, so Sandra, wait. I am going to forego my question. Akiva is so passionate about sharing these one-liners with us, and I have it in an email that I can screen share. I hope that there is time after he does that for all of us who have been patient Linda and Molly have both had their.
I could leave it with you, and Marcia can email it. We can email it to you, but doing it together is more impactful. I just want us to experientially feel the wisdom coming out of him. And I have to say, without being Jewishly apologetic, and I tend to do that because I am not here to teach Sufism. I'm here to teach Judaism. But when I find something that aligns unbelievably with Jewish sensibilities, I do have to introduce it to you. And show you the intersectionality, and this is a source for attaining and acquiring truth.
Rabbi, could I just tell you, I've read some of Rumi, and I wanted to interject here just because I had been in a very contentious relationship at one moment with someone I loved, and we were butting heads. And I read something by Rumi: out there beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is an empty field. I will meet you there.
Yes.
I do thank you. And I'm going to defer to what Rabbi Akiva would like to share with us, and hope that those who have been patiently waiting, as I was, will forgive me for letting him take us into we have 15 minutes left. And
okay,
if he is not finished by then, if he is finished, I will call on people who have been waiting. So I'm going to screen share now.
Okay, friends, I hand wrote this because I just it did me good to do it, and it was the easiest way I could transmit this to Kim. It was like a labor of love, and that's how we're going to start off. By the way, love in the Sufi tradition is a major. I really didn't do justice to the Sufi course. I really should do another one. But love is a major like energy element in the Sufi tradition. And I did this is because if you remember correctly, in the Sphira, in the Tree of Life, in the Sphira chart, our Sphira chart starts basically from the seventh we start. There are 10 Sphirot, but we basically start from number 7, which is Chesed. And Chesed, Olam Chesed Yibaneh, King David says, and the mystics focus in on this tremendously, that, and we are not known for it, but it's really true. Olam Chesed Yibaneh is that love, chesed, kindness, and love in the Jewish tradition is the foundation of the world. We are not known for love. Christianity is the religion of love. But in truth, our mystical tradition and our ethical tradition does begin with chesed. So similarly, Sufism, love is really what makes the world go round. Love is the whole thing. We are only pieces. I love that. We are pieces of love. And if we are pieces of love, we are sparks of the big love of the universe. And if we are pieces and sparks of love, then we ought to be asking ourselves, like, are we being true to our own natures? The next one. When when I am up with you, we stay up all night. When you're not here, I can't go to sleep. Praise God for these insomnias and the difference between them. I like that. Friends, when the when transcendence is with, when we are with transcendence, and I especially saw that Rumi, because when I am with you in we would regularly write you with a capital U, referring to God. That's what he's talking about. But he specifically doesn't, which I kind of liked. You do realize that the you is talking about divinity, is talking about the transcendence. When I am with you, I am unified with the cosmic infinite being, we stay up all night. In other words, when I think about, when we think about, when we are high in God, when we are high with God, we are in a place of ecstasy. We are all excited. We are all active. We are all full of energy. So we stay up all night when we're really high with God. Lord, get me high, right? When we're high with transcendence, we stay up all night. But when we're not, when you're not here, when I'm not in moments of transcendence, when I'm actually in a state of depression, where I feel the transcendence absence, I also can't go to sleep because we're so depressed, we're agitated. So Rumi's conclusion is praise God for those two insomnias and the difference between them. We are friends. What he's saying here is we live somewhere in a world between depression and ecstasy. Either we're up all night in ecstasy with our higher selves, or we are up all night because we are not in ecstasy, because we're depressed and we are shallow and we're not aware, and we're up all night for that reason. So we live in this world of yin and yang, and both are necessary. And praise God for this yin and yang. Praise God for these two insomnias. All we have to do, I would say parenthetically, like in brackets at the end, thank God for these two insomnias, and the difference between them is that we have to learn how to balance these two insomnias, that we don't go meshiga between the yin and the yang. Okay, next, Marcia, a little bit up. Okay, there. I love this. This correlates to many verses in the Psalms, many Jewish mystical metaphors between a flame and a candle in reference to our souls. There is a candle in your heart, ready to be kindled. There is a void in your soul, ready to be filled. You feel it, don't you? So it's a thought like that we can carry around with us, not for a day, but for a week, and just carry around and ponder and meditate on it. Respond to every call that excites your spirit. When you have a spiritual inclination, friends, something that has to do with the spirit, something to do with the soul, something to do with elevating yourself, we sometimes have a tendency to hesitate or to procrastinate. I'll do it later. I'll initiate tomorrow. This is no different than v'im lo achshav eimatai. If not now, when? Respond to every call that excites your spirit. Don't put it on hold. Don't say later on. Respond to it, because that moment of inspiration, the moment of excitement might leave. You might become weak, and you will forget about it. And you will have missed out on an opportunity called life. Next, we carry inside us the wonders we seek outside of us. This is really at the basis. This goes to the core of Jewish mysticism and Sufi mysticism. We tend the false ego, tends to lead us to things that are firstly very accessible and very external and highly. I'm hearing echo. We tend to grasp for things that are just close by and external. So the external world makes us feel that there are wonders to be experienced and had in the external world, and sometimes the proximity of the wonders that are outside distract us and make us think that the only wonders to be had are on the outside. And Rumi is reminding us, and all mystics throughout the ages remind us, we carry inside us, mamish inside us, we carry the wonders that we are seeking and that we are tempted with on the outside. It is all within us. There is a treasure house within us. The only thing is focus, awareness, will, to reveal the treasure that lies within each of us and the energy that lies within. Next, in order to understand the dance, one must be still. And in order truly to understand stillness, one must dance. Again, an example of the paradoxical element within life. That's a deep one that Reb Nachman of Breslov has something very, very similar. Okay, let's go on.
Do you not see the next one? Because I've just lost my view of screen share. And we have 1 minute left, by the way.
I only see one line. Let music loosen our deafness. Hold on. I have it. I have the original here. Oh, good. I knew that there was. This one I put in because I'm a lover of music, and most of you are too. And the place of music in Sufi tradition is nearly as great as music was in the Hasidic realm. Music was very vital to the healing and elevation of the soul. Let music loosen our defenses, our deafness to spirit. Play and let play. In both traditions, that you can't get enough of music. You can't get enough of music because, if anything, music loosens the chains that imprison us. And music is not only loosening of chains, but also is a great gatherer of our scattered and fragmented spirit sparks. It's a great gatherer and harmonizer. So let music play and play in that way. Soul. Music is a massage for the soul. You want to massage your soul? Play some music. Okay, Chevra, I mamish did not do justice to. I don't do justice to any one of these lectures, but I hope I gave you a little taste. I hope I gave you a little taste. And if you don't get the Rumi books, one practical thing in terms of mystical tradition in general do yourself a favor, have a book by your night table. Meditation, I'm talking about general meditation, also means having words of wisdom, having mystical wisdom in close proximity to your night table. Why not have a mystic sleeping with you? Why not? You might not open up the book and enter into the mystic's mind, but you might. You might. And those occasions where you might are going to lead to other occasions. So if you don't have it by your night table, you are guaranteed that you're not going to be imbued with mystical wisdom, and the deeper part of yourself will not be sparked up and ignited. So have something close by, have music close by, but have Rumi close by, have Abraham Joshua Heschel close by, have the aphorisms of Reb Nachman of Breslov close by. But right now, so soon you're going to have like five stacks of books if you adhere to this advice, because you're gonna like it. But start with one, and start with Rumi. Look for the short one-line aphorism books. There's 2 or 3 of them. Just one line at a time. That should suffice. Okay, Chevra, I don't want to keep you. Love you all, and I this was the last of the series.